Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Coming to you live from our comfy couch here on the outskirts here. Now, this is the Gaming Saloon Reviews for October 20th, 2019. With your host, Spaceworker2448 and Rampant Epsilon.
Hi.
So almost about to be the 21st, though.
Oh dear God, this title is long.
As I told you, every crossover title is stupidly long. That is why I always refer to crossovers by literally the last relevant, the proper title for it. Because that's the most relevant portion.
And I forget, every time we do movies, I've got a monkey with the stupid box. Every time.
Yep. So yeah, here we are, folks. We're doing the big crossover. The best crossover. What I consider the best crossover in this franchise.
And I probably have to agree at this point.
At least of the Heisei era. I'm not sure on the Showa era because I haven't viewed the Showa era, and the Showa era actually has a lot of crossovers within their series. So that's kind of it's over here. There's probably some really good stuff here. But at least for the Heisei era, this is still the best crossover movie.
Okay, I think it's safe to say probably the best one we've covered on the show.
Yeah. But I guess maybe before we get into that, did you catch 01 for this week?
Yes.
How'd you feel about 01 for this week?
Oh boy.
How'd you like?
We have went from dropping little bits of information to here's the plot.
How'd you like Vulcan being nearly killed this week?
Oh boy.
And Hirobi going, oh, you think your gun's fancy. One kick, dead.
Yeah.
Also, it's kind of future knowledge, but you know that progress key that Hirobi used in the Attache arrow?
I didn't quite catch it.
It's Amazing Hercules.
Ah.
That name should sound familiar if you know the toy scans. Guess who uses that progress key in a few months? Guess who also appeared in this episode most likely? Because, half of what I was fucking talking about on Friday just is like, oh yeah, that's real. That's true. That's factual.
Yep.
Of course, fucking, not only is Zaya, funding AIMS, they fucking, could fund an army of Shot Rise riders if they wanted to. Because they got fucking, 12 million Shot Risers in there, along with Attache shotguns. Which, makes me go, are we gonna get a troop builder rider this year? You're not making all of these Shot Risers just to outfit 2 people.
All I'm gonna say, we know the production crew is the same as X-Aid, which had the rad players, so I feel like we're gonna have that whole mass-produced. More than likely, the unnamed AIMS goons will get an upgrade at some point, I have a feeling.
Oh, when that happens.
More so than them be the puppets of the antagonist kind of deal. I think it's going to more be that. Probably around the time everyone gets their first upgrades. Yeah.
I can't wait till it happens so I can cackle madly at the Soda Pop crew. Especially one of them, he's just like, oh my god, I have to troop build this. No, I have to get 12 of these. And I will cackle madly at him. Because I'm not falling into that. I refuse. I don't even want a single right player out of X8 Soto, now that I'm getting Soto.
But, you know, now that I'm looking at that, I'm wondering what kind of design would we even be seeing for something like that?
I don't know, maybe like a blank, like black version of like the shot, or like take like the white half of Vulcan and Valkyrie, apply that across the entire suit, and maybe some black design, some like black and gray design with the like whatever like mass-produced progress key we're gonna get.
Maybe.
That's my only thought, because I feel like they would go that route. Because otherwise, I'm not sure, because nothing in the show like pushes towards that at the moment, design-wise.
Yeah, that's why I'm kind of like that. That seems something that's gonna be a thing, but at the same time, it's like, how? Like, are we gonna have blank dummy progress keys that actually activated, and they just be like a somewhat blank suit, or are we actually gonna have a mass-produced progress key that actually is that actually fits the bill with the other progress keys?
Yeah.
Like,
I did see some.
That's the two thoughts that I'm thinking with that direction, anyhow.
I did see someone on Tumblr like flip out at the fact that there were 3 Breaking Mammoth armors. You know, before one of them at least got hijacked. Going, oh, are we gonna get all 3 Breaking Mammoth armors for all 3 of our riders? No.
No.
You only get a 0-1 one, and that is it. No one else is getting one. Like, all I know future knowledge wise from Toy Scans is that 0-1 gets another upgrade, Vulcan gets another upgrade, and Jing gets an upgrade. And that's kind of it. And we get another weapon. And these are like the other half of the scans for Fourze. So at some point past Fourze, these will come out, but like we don't have any images or anything. They're just like a blank listing of just here's items to come with no images. So it's kind of okay. What else? I'm trying to think of what else from this episode. I do like that this episode is going to fully confirmed. No, Aruto is fucking human. Stop it. He is not a fucking half cyborg prototype human gear nonsense. No.
Yeah. I feel like this is probably the proper point to go ahead and do that rather than try to let it keep playing out.
Especially because I've noticed this trend with 0-1 so far is that it'll have us certain questions be put on the board, but it won't let some of those questions linger for that long. It will let it linger for a few episodes, and then it will answer it definitively. Like, we still have questions, but like it's not like the questions are piling up. We are getting answers to questions.
And you know, I might have an idea as to why Jin and Hirobi look like 2 different versions of Huma gears.
Hirobi's a prototype?
Nope. We have 2 different tech companies.
Ooh, that's true. He's a Zaya human gear instead of a hidden one.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, I didn't think about that. Oh, ho, ho. I was figuring he's like one of the original prototype human gears, which is why we only saw him way back when.
I don't think that's the case. I think they tried to replicate the same product, and because of some kind of incorrect doing on their part, caused all of this to play in.
they expedited his singularity process, which caused him to go, a little murder happy with humanity.
And then Jin more than likely is a hidden one that is possibly created by Hirobi.
He's implied that he's created Jin, so I wouldn't be surprised if he did. Or at the very least, he was like one of the first ones Jin converted, or one of the first ones Hirobi converted.
Or, it could be potential that, he might have utilized the process that Hidden uses to create them.
Yeah, because we have Dodo Man back again as a recurring villain. I love that Dodo Man is sticking around.
And I mean, we've still got that, little question mark about the opening.
Yeah.
It's like, there's some pieces playing together here.
Yeah. Also, did you catch Izu doing the there's only one person who can defeat you and it's me pose in the background?
Yes.
Yes, I love it. I love how much she just mimics Naruto now. I love their dynamic. And I will also be honest, like, the people who are predicting, like, something happening to her later in the series, not fucking shit.
Yeah.
Like, of course it is. Why would we set up all of this thing about Metsubo Jinrai going after AI that are reaching singularity and not have a Human Gear cast member reach singularity at some point in the series and then go after her? Like, that's the entire setup.
The only thing that I think could potentially change, since that is so blatantly obvious that is what they'll aim for, what if it's a case of he already has hit that point? Already has been converted. And Naruto's grandpa is the reason why she's not still under their control.
That's entirely possible.
Because that would do a point where Naruto kind of gets to where he doesn't trust her, but then later finds out that his grandpa fixed it, which gives us backstory on him too.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's one of those, I feel like that if they leveraged it that way, it would probably work. And I wonder if the opening maybe plays towards that.
Yeah. I'm still of the mind.
Again, after watching X-Aid and seeing how many parallels there was in the opening alone, I'm like, yeah, I think we need to reference that opening as much as we can.
Yeah. I'm still of the mindset that her, like, going Maverick is going to be the prompt for a form change to save her. I am 100% expecting that.
I could see that. Like I said, I could see either way.
But yeah, 01 continues to be really good, and I'm really excited because the Soto for 01 start coming out next week. The first set comes out next week. And we got most, in quotations, of 02 revealed, which will be Flaming Tiger, Punching Kong, Valkyrie, and a guest appearance of Perfect Kingdom. Because we're going to throw that in the retail set, in the second retail set, for funsies. But they didn't number the boxes after this week's blog post. So it's unsure if we're getting a fifth figure in the set, or if that was just a mistake. It is very likely either or. Because they have goofed on the block before.
Well then.
Like, I'm kind of expecting it's a goof because the original Soto commercial for 01 had all of the 01 figures that we've seen so far in its commercial. Like, there was no Freezing Bear, there's nothing past Freezing Bear. Or, like, Freezing Bear or Lightning Hornet are not in that commercial. So I assume those are 03 with Jin and Hirobi. Is my expectation. Because I assume they would give you Jin and Hirobi together, just like, hey, here's the two of them together.
I would think, yeah.
Because doing all that more or less sets you up to just cover like the major form changes after that point. Because that lets you do like Shining Hopper, Assault Wolf, Assault Shining Hopper. Because those are all like the next things with Bowser. Or like probably just before Bowser debuts. So that lets what I assume that to be kind of a box set of Bowser with the main three major form changes that have come out at the time. Unless you want to work in the Geo stuff at this point, since they said, we will do the movie stuff, we will do Tsukiyomi, we will do Gates Majesty. That all has to be put in the Soto boxes at some point. Like, catching up on 01 enough lets you spread out 01 now, so you can, like, work on the Geo material, which means I'm going to be buying things separately, because I don't want Geo material. I'm good. I don't like Geo.
Geo, what's a Geo? I mean, to be fair, can't blame anyone that's like that.
Yeah. Anything else from this week's episode of 01?
No.
All right, then. So, folks, it is time to talk about the big crossover. The 40th, the proper, true 40th anniversary crossover event. Because this is also a 40th anniversary movie. Like Superhero Tyson. Except Superhero Tyson sucks. And we will not cover this in this series because we've already talked about it.
Yeah.
So we are skipping it. But yeah, we are talking Kamen Rider Cross Kamen Rider Fourze and O's movie Tyson Megamax. Debuting December 10th, 2011, so right in the middle of last week's batch of episodes. This was directed by Koichi Sakamoto, of course. If you cannot tell this is a Koichi Sakamoto movie, you have not seen enough Koichi Sakamoto. And this is also written by Yasuko Kobayashi for the O's portion of this movie, but also by Kazuki Nakashima for the Fourze and Megamax portions of this movie. Meaning, yes, we did have two writers on this movie, and yes, it is still the best crossover movie to date, even with that caveat.
And I don't understand how this was the top of the curve and it just went downhill from here.
Well, more like it came up. Because remember, we had two movies before this. We had 2010 in Movie War Core.
Like I said, this kind of was the top of the curve.
Yep. And what's even better is that this movie acknowledges Movie War Core.
Yeah.
Acknowledges Core in A to Z to form this kind of loose continuity of movies. Anywho, this movie is also split into 5 parts that are all named. Yes, every part of this movie is named.
Really?
Yes. I have put the names in the notes. That is how they are organized. So, any thoughts going in?
No, not really.
For reference, this is like the 4th or 5th time I've seen this movie. I almost watched it again today while I was doing notes. I kind of let scenes play out longer because I kind of summarized the entire scenes because I kind of know this movie by heart at this point. Which is why, if you were looking at the notes, you will notice that there are a lot of just long sentences that summarize scenes instead of just like real quick descriptive sentences and just moved on.
Like you normally do.
Yeah. So yeah, if it's not any indication, yes, I love this movie. It's really good. I think technically this was like my first like not going back, my first present crossover movie. Because I remember flipping out at the fact that of a leaked image of this movie that was Double O's Fourze all together at the end of this movie. That was the first image that came out for this movie, and I flipped my goddamn shit at it.
Oh, wow.
Because remember, folks, my introduction to the writer was Double, and I went forward through there. So literally, the first 3 writers outside of Decade were having a crossover movie. You have no idea how excited I was. Anywho, we will kick things off with part 1, beginning Fight the Legendary 7 Riders. We see various meteors land on Earth from the perspective of Gentro and crew at the Rabbit Hutch. And we also cut between them, Edgy, and the pier that we will get back to later, where one of the meteors cracks open a black hole to time and place unknown at the moment. But we focus in on the legendary 7 riders, the first 7 riders, Ichigo, Nigo, V3, Riderman, X, Amazon, and Stronger, as they are all battling the various goons from across the last 3 seasons at various locations. For reference, Ichigo and Nigo are in Eastern Europe country A. V3 and Riderman are in Mediterranean archipelago. X and Amazon are in South America country C. And Stronger is in Northern Middle East. Those are the actual subtitled locations. I don't make this up.
Yeah.
I believe the wiki says that X and Amazon are technically in Chile. And I guess Ichigo and Nigo are in Argentina? Because I think Argentina is like Eastern European. Or Eastern Europe. Anywho, they are battling them out. They are also introducing themselves because, just in case you don't know who these people are, they will shout their names at you just so you know who they are. And they all get nice little extended fight scenes so you know exactly what these people are capable of, which is mainly just lots of punches, lots of kicks, outside of Riderman, who has his rope arm, which is the only arm he uses the entire movie. Even though I think has 3. Anyway, the most important person out of this group is Stronger, who is technically the leader of the Legendary 7, as weird as that sounds.
Yeah, that does seem odd.
Yes, the newest person of the 7 is also technically the leader, because that's just how the show era operates. If you're the newest person, you're leader now. We follow your lead.
Yeah, that seems weird.
But yeah, checking in with Stronger, we see that Foundation X are the ones investigating these meteors. They are taking some silver goop out of one of the meteors, and they are running away with it before Stronger can catch up to them. Cutting back to Japan, specifically the Foundation X branch of Japan, we are informed by our villains that the goop is called Soul, and they are also after the metals that are apparently in the black hole. Which then sets up the entire movie of this is what the movie is going to revolve around, is these 2 points. Remember them. Even though, for reference, we are watching the director's cut version of this movie, which is nearly 2 hours. This was originally an hour-and-a-half movie. that didn't stop during the credits, mind you. Like, from a certain point in the epilogue through to right when you get that early bird cameo, that was during the credits. On the little side screen during the credit. This movie just didn't refuse to stop going because it had shit to do. It was going to maximize that runtime.
I mean,
Anywho.
might as well.
Yeah. Anywho, that takes us to part 2. Kamen Rider O's Ank's Resurrection, The Metals of the Future, in the Leading Hope. Yes, this is titled exactly like an O's episode. The Fourze portion is also titled like an Fourze episode. I like that little touch.
Yeah.
We check back in at the black hole as we see Kogami's men are analyzing it. When a rider emerges, this rider is called Poseidon, even though he goes unnamed during the course of the movie. So does another rider. He goes unnamed during the course of the movie, but he will be named as well. He proceeds to rip a hole in the entire group that is there because, nobody can stop him. Kogami calls in to give him a quick little happy birthday and ask, kindly, who the fuck are you? He simply replies that he is a Kamen Rider.
To which Kogami does not question because reasons.
Yeah, we'll get there. Actually, we are already there because this movie, bear in mind, this movie is 2 hours. We're only like 10 minutes in. Like, this movie just goes and refuses to stop. If it has a slow moment, it's slow enough to get it, and then we move on.
Yeah, there is no brake pressing. They just take their foot off the gas for a second and then hit it again.
Yeah. This movie goes and moves for 2 hours. This feels less than 2 hours. Yeah, we head to the Foundation where Goto arrives. I guess it's his day off from being a detective. As Kogami decides to fill him in on what the fuck's going on. Essentially, and I've talked about this before in reference to the movie, because we do have a time loop scenario in this movie. So essentially, Kogami is continuing his work on his research in the core metals, and strewn around his office are all these different core metals that he's trying to create. These are these CSM metals that came out within the last year or so. And if you're like eagle-eyed enough, you will have spotted the 3 metals that Poseidon is using in these pictures. So Kogami reveals that, I did succeed at making core metals, but I also kind of created a monster in the process somewhere 40 years in the future. Oops.
Which was not his intention.
No. And it's only 40 years in the future because it's the 40th anniversary of the franchise, so of course it's 40 years in the future. Which places this at like 2041-ish. Anyway, he was trying to avoid making a greed, although he actually ended up making a greed. Well, a pseudo-greed is what I will call Poseidon for now. Anyway, Poseidon has arrived.
Truthfully, he more or less made a super-powered yummy, really.
Yeah, technically.
Like, now that I'm thinking about that actually... Yeah, that's what he kind of did instead.
That's why I say pseudo-greed, because he has characteristics of a greed, but he's probably more of a yummy in practice.
Well, okay, maybe I should take that back because I guess it's more akin to the purple cores.
Yeah. But yeah, Poseidon has arrived in this era, and I love that they say this era because they're like, yeah, it's not going to be the Heisei era 40 years in the future. I guess it will technically be the Reira era 40 years in the future. So technically, Poseidon is a Reira rider. Technically, now in retrospect, he's a Reira rider.
But they didn't know that at the time.
No, extremely no. But he has arrived in this era to destroy the current riders. They name drop Date, Goto, and Eiji as the ones he's after, because those are the focus of this part of the movie, so shh, don't worry about it. He's only after them. He has access to a black hole that lets him go wherever the fuck he wants in time. He'll go after everyone else eventually. Meanwhile, Hina is being picked up by Satonaka as they go try to pick up Eiji at the airport. She's also getting the exposition dump about all of this at the same time. This is one of those cases of, if you're watching the original version, these conversations are cut together and cut down, so you kind of go back and forth with the information instead of Goto gets all the information and then Hina kind of gets all the information. It's one of the downsides of director's cuts where it's very obvious there's added material here because it kind of doesn't flow right. It feels like we hit a hiccup and got an alternate take. Anyway, back with Kagami, he passes Goto, the birth driver, and asks him to take up birth once more to stop Poseidon because, it would be bad if he murdered you and Date and Eiji, who's also my employee at the moment, by the way. Because we do find out here that Eiji is now working for Kagami to research the metals. And also Kagami hints that Poseidon is more than just these future core metals. And we are immediately answering that question because we cut to Poseidon in his human disguise, I guess. I'll call it a human disguise for now.
I mean,
as we see that...
I guess you're not wrong.
Yeah. He is chock full of the current core metals, and he creates some trash yummy. Checking back in with Hina and Satonaka, they are stopped by said trash yummy on the way to the airport. Satonaka tries to fight them and actually does a pretty good job of it. Satonaka is probably the most capable fighter that is not a writer in OOO.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the Birthbuster and kicks are not good enough, and neither is Hina's super strength because the trash yummy immediately just no-sell the fuck out of it and just toss her around.
I mean, to be fair, the trash yummy were kind of a challenge for Ankh too, so I guess that makes sense.
Yeah. And an Ankh that is questionable in how powerful he is, considering his questionable status on core metals, as we'll soon find out.
Well, I wasn't meaning this movie, I was meaning the actual series.
Well, yeah, that too.
So that was what I was more referring to on that one. But yeah, that too.
Yeah. Thankfully, before Hina can be attacked some more, Eiji arrives to clear out some of the trash yummy. But this is exactly what Poseidon wants, so he kind of teleports in and immediately just smacks the shit out of Eiji with his fucking spear.
Yes.
And
yes, out of you technically have to say quote unquote Eiji.
Yeah. Don't worry, I will correct that in the notes later. For now, it's supposed to be Eiji. You're supposed to believe this is Eiji, who has just been one-shotted by fucking Poseidon.
You know what's bad though? That still was a no-soul moment. Because in show we've seen Edgy take hits like that and get back up.
Yeah.
So that was one of those. I'm like, yeah, no, I'm not buying that.
Yep. So Edgy's out cold on the ground while Hina looks after him. But thankfully, Date arrives from halfway around the world somewhere.
Again.
I don't know. I guess he got a fast flight.
I mean, to be fair, the man keeps coming back.
Yes. So Date arrives, takes up Protobirth, which thankfully Satonaka just had on her. I guess she didn't decided that she didn't want to be Protobirth.
Either that, or maybe the fact that she left out was they were supposed to go pick up Edgy and Date?
Maybe. I will note that Satonaka has actually become Birth, but it was in one of the net movies for, I think it was Wonderful, actually.
Well, then that means it's questionably whether that's in canon or not.
Yes. I think it was for a gag, but yes, she has donned the armor.
I mean, I wouldn't object.
Neither would I, to be honest. We could use more female riders.
Well, I'm more just meaning, okay, look at how well she was keeping her own without an armor.
Yeah, and she probably needed less practice with the fucking Birthbuster than Goto did.
I mean, yeah, I wouldn't be against that at all.
Nope. Back with the fight, unfortunately, Date is having a rough time against Poseidon, no matter how many suplexes and arm bars and other wrestling moves he does, which I love that all he does is wrestling moves. He literally tries a German and Poseidon just flips out of it like, the fuck you trying to do? You're not Brock Lesnar. Sit down. This is when Goto arrives, pulling off his signature move of running one of the ride vendors into the enemy. Because he does that so much.
That's his thing.
Look, that's his level 2 assist. His level 1's the rocket launcher. This is his level 2 assist, is to run the motorcycle into someone.
I mean, yeah.
So now the Birth Brothers are together fighting Poseidon, and I do like that Goto pops the drill arm so that even in the chaoticness of this fight, it is still very distinctive of which Birth is which, even with the red circles and stuff.
Yeah, because in some scenes, it's hard to tell that.
Yeah. Unfortunately, the two of them are trashed by Poseidon because he don't give a fuck. He tears them apart.
And it kind of reiterates the point of the Birth driver just cannot keep on pace with the O's driver and or the future driver, because I'm just going to call it that.
It is technically the Poseidon driver. So it is just technically the Poseidon driver. Because that also came out with the CSM driver. It's just here's a thing to just plop on there that gives you Poseidon. So they are trashed. Date's Birth driver is just stabbed and practically destroyed. Goto takes a shot to protect Date and is just knocked out of his transformation. So they're done for the fight. And also, technically, both Births are done for the movie. This is the last time we see them as the Births. This is not the last time we see the two of them, though. But all this fighting has given Ongchi? I'm going to call him Ongchi. The opening he needed as he stabs his hand into Poseidon and rips out core metals. I do love that Edgy's actor tries really hard to mimic Onk's mannerisms, and it doesn't quite work.
Yeah, I've got to say that's touch that I gotta give him, but at the same time, it's like, wow, you really can tell. Like, you can tell the difference big time.
Yeah. So with core medals in hands, he tosses them to the real Edgy, who has just been hiding over there, apparently, with underwear on stick.
Yes.
Edgy goes O's, and then he proceeds to go to town on Poseidon with random combos.
Granted, you did miss the semi-important point of he left his underwear on a stick in the ground before he transformed.
We can bring that up later when Edgy actually references, oh fuck, I forgot that. Oops. Because that's for comedy later.
And questionable for plot later.
The underwear,
like
yes.
That kind of leads into that part too.
Well, yeah.
So it's like, I feel like that's somewhat of an important thing to just kind of note right there.
Yep. But yeah, Edgy just uses various mixes of, like, I'm trying to think. Quagata, Gorilla, and Cheetah. I think he also uses Quagata, Tora, and Condor, I think.
And I think there's another one too.
Yeah, there's one more I can't think of, but
I can't
like
either.
all of these mix up combos in fast succession, because this is a Sakamoto movie, and when you give Sakamoto the keys to the toy box, he's gonna use every goddamn one he can in very fast fashion, and they're all flashy and useful.
I do like the fact though that this fight is in natural O's fashion. The whole Ankh trying to figure out what he's weak against.
Yeah.
Because this is absolutely no full combos.
Yeah, this is just keep beating the shit out of him with stuff, and let's see how well he takes it by the end.
It's one of those, I like that touch where it's not just a case of, here, drop into a full combo. Oh, that one's not working, here, do another one.
Yeah.
It's like, no, this is truthfully how Edgy and Ankh fight.
And this is like an O's, like, fully unleashed. Like, this is how powerful and how dangerous Edgy can be if, like, if he had everything at his disposal. And this is with no full combos. This is just mix-ups, and he is just trashing this guy like it's no tomorrow.
Yeah.
Anywho, after the mix-ups, Edgy goes back to Tatoba, pulls out the Meta Jalber, clashes with him, ready to take him out. Except Poseidon reaches his hand out to his shoulder and looks like he might be trying to say something before Poseidon backs off, de-transforms, and then runs. Edgy finds this all a bit curious, but we don't get to that yet. We have to do a quick little gag with Ankh still looking like Edgy, and Edgy being like, "Oh, can we stop this, please? It's weird. This is creeping me out."
To which Ankh's like, it's creeping you out? No, this is creeping me out.
How do you think I feel? I don't like being you. So yeah, Ankh reverts back to his normal form. Hina is extremely happy about this, which, just for reference, her brother does not appear in this movie, nor does he get mentioned.
No, I think when Hina and Satonaka were in the car, she did mention something about him.
Oh, okay.
But that's the only time.
Okay, so it's a one-off line. But otherwise, he does not appear in this movie, even though it's the exact same actor as Ankh. It's like the only important character, like the important side character from O's that doesn't appear in this movie.
Yeah, and it's kind of strange.
Yeah, because for reference, the Ankh that we see here, he is like a full greed. He's not possessing anybody. Yeah, Ankh is a bit indifferent to all this, although you can see on him that like this is affecting him in some way, due to plot reasons we will see later. And he also doesn't commit to anything of any of Hina's questions about if he's back or not, which I do like, because he's like, I can't lie to you, so I will say nothing.
And I do like that is kind of the theme.
Mm-hmm. We have a quick check-in with Poseidon to see that, yeah, he is being controlled by something. We'll get to what that something is later. We check back in with the Kuskasir, or we head to the Kuskasir, where Chiyoko drops Ankh just a fucking bowl full of ice pops. Got to feed that addiction. And we now have a nice little like regrouping of like the core cast of O's minus Date, Goto, and Chiyoko in Kogami. With some nice little gags and stuff of like Edgy going, oh fuck, I forgot my underwear at the fight, and Ankh is just like, oh, no one fucking cares. And Edgy's like, I care, and takes his ice pops away before they two get into a fight, and then Hina has to break it up. It's like O's never ended. It's like these people didn't have like several months away from these roles before coming back for this.
Yeah, which is kind of honestly nice to see that none of them feel out of character after having a little bit of time away.
No? Meanwhile, we check in at the hospital where Chiyoko informs us, specifically informs Goto and Date that, yeah, the proto-birth driver is scrap, so we can't use that anymore. The proper birth driver is on the shelf for several weeks, and the two of you are pretty banged up. So we're in a shit situation. Which Date is just like, all we need is some rest, and then falls asleep. And then Goto and Satonaka are like, are you a real doctor? Are you a for real doctor? God damn it, Date. And I do love how Satonaka does toss her tablet onto him. It's just like, I don't care, you're injured, you're catching this. Back at the Kuskasir, Edgy is wondering if Poseidon is being controlled, and kind of discusses it with the cast, or discusses it with the group. Hina is kind of on board with trying to help him, whereas Ankh is just like, I don't care. Which I'm sure you can make all sorts of interpretations concerning what's get revealed later.
Yeah.
And Edgy even references the purple cores and metals situation that dominated the latter quarter of O's. Unfortunately, all this discussion is interrupted by trash yummies literally crashing through the front door. So Chiyoko and Hina have to get everybody out while Edgy and Ankh fight the trash yummies, and in the process, trash the place. On Chiyoko's, with Chiyoko's blessing to trash the place. Which I do like.
As long as they win.
Yeah. It's just like, win please. I don't care what happens to the restaurant. We can fix that. And I love that comes back around in the epilogue. Again, this movie is really fucking good. That even a dumb detail like this is still brought back around at the end of the movie.
Well, I mean, case in point, why I was mentioning about the tomorrow's underwear on a stick kind of deal.
Yeah.
That one little detail actually has importance, even though you could mistake that because Edgy does stuff like that all the time.
Yep. It's almost like the people writing this movie know the exact material they're writing and know exactly how to utilize it to its full advantage. So the two end up trashing the place while also fighting the yummies. Bear in mind, they are fighting out of suit because this is a Sakamoto movie, and you do not have a Sakamoto movie where you are a main character and you do not have a fight scene out of suit. Which I can't help but love. It's like, no matter what, everyone gets a fight scene. Everyone gets to show like how important they are. Anyway, the two take the fight outside, where Poseidon is happily waiting for them, and he transforms. Edgy decides to not fight him immediately, and doesn't take the medals from Ankh that he gives, and decides to try to reason with him, try to help him, because he's going to try what Ankh and Hina did for him back during the end of OOOs.
Except for, this is a completely different situation here.
Yep, and Ankh brings up that exact point after they get blasted at. Which Hina says, or not Hina, Edgy says, fuck that. We do know who this person is. He's a Kamen Rider. I will try to help him on that fact alone. And I do love that it's just, you're a writer, I'm a writer, we're both writers, we can work this out. Because, like, technically, Edgy has only had good relationships with other people called Kamen Riders.
Yeah, true.
He has not had to deal with a bad Kamen Rider like Double did.
Yeah.
And technically Fourze. Fourze doesn't have to deal with a bad rider. There is no Dark Rider in Fourze.
Well, and neither one of them have had to actually deal with Decade in his off days.
Yeah. Yeah, that's probably a good thing.
Because that's like the next closest thing.
Yeah, that's probably a good thing, to be honest. Anywho, after dodging several shots that get blown past him, Edgy unfortunately gets caught by one and then summarily dropped on his head, which, for reference, in the movie it looks pretty bad. That was a stunt actor, that was not Edgy's actor. He did in fact get dropped on his head on accident. That was not supposed to how that's supposed to go.
I didn't think that looked like that was how that was supposed to go.
Oh no.
I was like, oh, that was not intended, was it?
No, he went to the hospital, but I believe he was fine. But yeah, that's like the one like bad spot behind the scenes of this movie of, yeah, this one stunt actor got dropped on his fucking head. That hurts. That sucks. Thankfully, he's okay. Anyway, now that Edgy has been knocked down and Poseidon hops towards him, ready to stab him, Ankh just fires one shot and Poseidon just blocks it. And I guess Ankh's just like, well, he blocked one shot. I guess I'm not shooting anymore. It's like, Ankh, you can keep firing. Like, do you not have like rapid fire? Is that not a switch you can turn on for your arm? Is it just single shot?
I mean, the only time he's really had to go full out against anything is if it was against another grade, and I guess he doesn't treat this as another grade.
I guess not. Anyway, Poseidon tries to spear Edgy, but misses and only like scrapes his arm a little before he steps back and reverts to his human form and his human mind. Because we are now going to be introduced to the person behind Poseidon, Miharu, which, if you have watched Kamen Rider Geo, you've been introduced to Miharu. Poorly, mind you. They take him and meet up with Hina at a scooter junkyard thing. Like, this is in Superhero Tyson as well. Weirdly enough, this location is. And I think I've seen it in Lupin or Loop Hat recently. Anyway, Hina patches up Edgy as we get the backstory on Miharu. He is indeed a future Kamen Rider, but wasn't always Poseidon. He was originally a different rider, fighting the totally not the undead from Blade, because that is the monster suits that are being used in Silhouette in the flashbacks. I guess technically flash forwards. I don't know if those are supposed to be the undead or just these are monster suits we have, and as long as we shoot them in Silhouette, nobody's probably going to notice what they are. Hopefully. But monsters are attacking in his time, and he wasn't quite able to utilize the power of his original belt because he's afraid of water, and his belt is powered by water.
And I love that Ankh finds that immensely hilarious.
Oh, Ankh is beautiful in this scene because you get a perfect encapsulation of his character and how much of a shithead he is.
And how much Edgy and Hina are like, just no, stop, quit.
Like, the best one is the second time. Like, the first one is just them pegging him with fucking, like, pill bottles and shit. Just, it's like, please shut up. You're not helping. But we find out that Kogami, old man Kogami, 40 years in the future with his fancy sparkly suit, gifted Miharu the Poseidon driver and those core medals for him to become Poseidon. Unfortunately, they also weren't enough, and he got his ass handed to him again. Also, unfortunately, the black hole that we saw opened up during his time period and dropped all of the core metals and cell metals from the end of O's onto him, which more or less created the pseudo-greed Poseidon in the process. And he has been possessed by Poseidon ever since. So that's where all the core metals and cell metals went. Again, that's a plot point that just gets brought back. Miharu says that, like, all of this is his fault, which Ankh completely agrees with, which is true. And Edgy just drops his shirt on him. It's just like, oh my god, Ankh, please stop. And I love that Hina's about to just smack him with a fucking giant barrel before Edgy has to stop her. But later that night, Poseidon takes back control and tries to take some medals from Ankh. Except they completely saw this coming, and with a combo henshin, not unlike the one from way back in early O's.
Yeah.
Again, a really nice deep cut reference. They use his Gozo to pull more medals out of Poseidon before he just, like, pops a shockwave and, like, blows them all off and separates from Miharu and just becomes his own person now. Just uses the suit full time. So he dumps Miharu to them, kind of uses a blast to get away, and he's off to go to the pier, or heading back to the pier, which Kagami calls in the next day to inform them, yeah, y'all are banged up, the Birth Brothers are banged up, we're in a shit situation. He's heading to the pier and probably gonna hop through that black hole and start killing riders across history, which is probably gonna have disastrous consequences on the timeline, so good luck saving the day, guys. Bye.
Yeah.
Hina has some extra pairs of underwear to replace Edgy's missing pair. So Edgy takes a pair and is just like, all right, we got everything we need to win. And it starts to head out with Ankh, which Miharu, like, the same person he probably is just like, excuse me? All you needed was a pair of underwear for fucking tomorrow, and you know you're going to win the goddamn day? What? But this is where Edgy drops the last hermit wisdom he ever gets to drop in the series. Gets to drop, I think, ever, really. He doesn't get to drop hermit wisdom again, even in his later appearances, of like what the underwear means. And it's just having the courage to face tomorrow, whatever may come. So him and Ankh head out. And Edgy even leaves the underwear with Maharu. They arrive at the docks. Poseidon decides to drop some trash yummy on them because I don't feel like fighting you. I fought you enough. You kicked my ass. I'm not doing that again. So the two of them have to fight off some goons. Again, untransformed. Again. With Edgy asking what Ankh's current deal is since he hasn't gotten any information since he met up with Ankh at the airport. Which, for reference, since I didn't mention it earlier, Edgy ran into Ankh at the airport. Just randomly. He was just there waiting for him. Almost like he knew Edgy would be there. I wonder how.
Yeah.
And Ankh pretty much goes, look, do you want to fight with me again? Then live, dumbass. Don't die here. And Edgy's just like, alright, you don't die too. Even though you can't technically die. So Edgy goes Tatoba, transforms into Tatoba, fights Poseidon once more, except Poseidon has water, and he decides to take this fight to the water, where Edgy is at an extreme disadvantage. Even with Shoshota, he can't do it. Which, interesting enough, Shoshota is the only combo theme that is played during this movie. Because it kicks in at this point.
Oh yeah, I wasn't even thinking about that.
Yep. I bring that up because we will hit some music cues later. But yeah, Edgy gets knocked out of the water, and Shoshota is kind of proven to be useless against Poseidon, except 2 jet skis arrive on the horizon, and it's Date and Goto on jet skis. And they say they'll cover the water and try to fight Poseidon with jet skis. This won't end well for them. I'm not sure what their plan was here. Do you have any idea what their plan was?
I don't know.
Because neither one of them had a gun.
Yeah, they kind of needed gun.
Yeah. Satonaka also shows up to help Ankh clean out the trash yummies because she also feels like being useful, and also pointing out that, oh yeah, the brothers are on painkillers that are only going to last about 30 minutes, so hopefully they wrap that shit up.
And is it bad that I was kind of hoping they were going to make a reference back to that at some point?
I think it's just there so they can be written out of the rest of the movie. Because we couldn't get Terry back. So we can't have them also be here. Because I am willing to bet if they got Terry back, you bet your fucking ass that Goto would be doing a fight scene with Terry against something later in this movie. Anywho, the Birth Brothers get blown off their jet skis because neither one of them had a good plan in this, so you're done for the movie. Except on a new jet ski, Maharu arrives. With a bit of courage and flying the goddamn underwear on the wait, no, it's not flying on the pole, is it? Right now, is there? I'm pretty sure.
Don't think so.
Okay. Anyway, with a bit of bravery instilled in him, he transforms into his true rider form, Kamen Rider Aqua, which is a huge, design-wise, throwback to the original writers. So, weirdly enough, this kind of predicted that we would come back around the Showa era style designs like 01. Anywho, some fancy flips and stuff with the jet ski and ramming it directly into Poseidon. Forces him back on land, where Aqua proceeds to kick the shit out of him. Because Aqua got his courage back, he can now actually whoop some ass. So after that, him and O's finish him off with a combination rider kick from Aqua and O's in Tajador form, because of course he finishes off in Tajador. That's like his final form now, because Putoterra doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
So Poseidon's blown up. I guess Edgy collects all of the core metals that spew out of him that he didn't have before. And we wrap up with Aqua heading back through the black hole, back to his time period. Underwear flying as a flag, not unlike Edgy. Which I guess Geo decided to take literally, that he has that on him all the time. That's not how that works.
Yeah.
And the birth team departs to go to a hospital to lay down for a couple of weeks and not be in the rest of the movie. Well, they're in the epilogue, but not for the rest of the important action bits of the movie. And Ankh also disappears, as we see a red light also go into the black hole before it closes up. With Edgy informing Hina that Ankh's metal was still broken the entire time, and this Ankh is actually from the future. Most likely from the same time period that Maharu's from. Which I'm sure you can have all sorts of implications on about Ankh saying, fuck this guy. Which may or may not be true. So, Ankh will be revived in the future at some point. You can kind of read Ankh's body language to, assume when that would be the case. Considering he didn't seem, super missing them. So I assume, within their lifetime, or, it probably wouldn't be, that long, is my guess, after this point that Ankh is revived. Because I assume Ankh is aware of the events of this time loop, which is why he comes back. Because he needs to play a part in this time loop. Anyway, Hina and Edgy are happy. They're about to head off, only for an explosion to knock them back and knock all of the metals out of Edgy. Because I guess Ankh passed him all the metals before he headed out. And our Foundation X main villain, Kanagi, picks up the future core metals and leaves, leaving Edgy and Hina a bit stunned, going, what the fuck just happened? And I guess before we go forward, what'd you think of these first two parts?
Oh boy. I feel like it did super good sticking true to what we saw coming out of those.
Yep.
And that's something that doesn't happen too much.
Mm-hmm.
Especially with the crossover movies. So it's like that already kind of got me on the okay, this is apparently as good as you were saying.
Yep. And we're only just under halfway through the movie.
Yeah, I was gonna say not even technically halfway.
Yeah. Yeah, no, this is a really nice ending to O's. I like that. Yeah, we bring back O's for bring back Ankh for the crossover, but we don't keep him. But we do say, hey, he will come back. He'll be back fully at some point. How many, red core medals he has, I don't know. I don't think he stole any of the red core medals, because Edgy has a full set of every core medal, like, after this point. So I guess speculate at that what you will. Anywho, ready to move forward?
I guess so.
All right, we pick up with part 3, Futo, the conspiracy advances. Gallant Kamen Rider Joker. We're in Futo as Jotaro, on motorcycle, stumbles across Foundation X convoy, kind of randomly, or not. Take your interpretation of this scene as you will on what Jotaro was doing before he ran into this. He stops the transport, and the Foundation X goons are ready to fight him. So Jotaro slaps on the double driver, talks to Philip, ready to transform, except Philip's busy looking up shit on rice cracker soup.
Because of course he is.
Yeah. So before Philip can elaborate on it, Jotaro's like, okay, I got it. Okay, you can tell me about it later. Pulls off the double driver, slaps on the lost driver, and goes Kamen Rider Joker. And I love that this is how they operate now. Of just like, oh, Philip's busy? Okay, I can handle this. It's just a bunch of Foundation X goons. They don't look that bad. So going Joker, he knocks around the Masquerade goons. Also, Jotaro is really quippy this entire movie, and I love it. Even when he's double, he's really quippy. So yeah, he knocks around.
I kind of feel like that's a good thing, especially seeing as how the way double ended.
Yeah.
Because it kind of shows that he knows the serious stuff's over, that it's cleaning up the mess.
Yeah. It's cleaning up the mess and helping out your younger compatriots deal with their shit. But yeah, Jotaro knocks around the Masquerade goons in a couple of yummies that a couple of Foundation X members pop out of themselves, which I'm sure people who are super critical of continuity are being like, how the fuck did they pull that off? And all I have to go is, it's Foundation X. I'm sure they figured it out.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry. Who has funded the last 2/3 of the villain organization so far, and also funded Kogami's foundation? Oh, right, they did. I'm sure they figured out how to do this. Anywho, we cut away from this fight to go check in at Airport X. Yes, it's called Airport X. Where our bad guys are preparing their shuttle for takeoff to accomplish their plans, and they also dump the medals in a driver of sorts. But that is when the Legendary 7 arrive to put an end to Kanagi's plans to take over the world through controlling the world's energy. Unfortunately, Kagami literally saw this coming and went, oh, you're here, click, and pops a trap on the Legendary 7, turning them, as we will see later, into core medals and astro switches, which you can buy now because, yes, those are actual toys. We come back to Futo, where Jotaro cleans up the Masquerade goons in the yummies. He does a nice little punch rider kick combo. That is the one that's in Climax Heroes for reference. This is where it came from. After taking him out, he investigates the container and I assume takes it back with him to the office. Which, sadly, as of the recording of this podcast, is torn down now. The building where the office was is gone. It got torn down a few months ago, I believe.
Kind of stinks.
Yeah. Which takes us to part 4, Kamen Rider Fourze, Nadeshiko Descend. Also in the same style as a Fourze episode with the 4 kanji spelling it out. It is festival season at Amanagawa High School. I have been saying it wrong this entire time. It is not Asagami. It's Amanagawa. I don't know why I thought wrong. But it's festival season. All the clubs are doing their various things for the festival. And Gentaro is unfortunately late to the Kamen Rider Club's one. He is stopped by Usagi telling him that he will face heartbreak. And in order to avoid it, he needs to get him and Sonata together. It is weird how accurate he is for making this bullshit up.
Yeah, it really is.
I'm like, damn. Did your crystal ball actually work?
Well, halfway.
Yeah. Anyway, Gentaro sees through all this bullshit and calls out Usugi, who just runs after he's found out. Passing by Yuki, who shows up to drag Gentaro because, they're in a rush. They want to go do their thing. Which, as it turns out, is a presentation about the legendary 7 riders. It comes back around and is important in Fourze that, oh yeah, these guys are real. But the group tries to do a presentation on them. It does not go well. They are practically booed off the stage when Miyu gets to X, who's Jake at the moment. They get off stage and go try to find Jake. And we find out that they did all this to try to sway people from using the Zodiart switches. Which Jake points out, we could just say we are the Kamen Rider Club. Like, legitimately the Kamen Rider Club. That might help. Although Kango also brings up the point of, maybe we shouldn't do that, because then they would know it's us. But if you're an audience member at this point, it doesn't matter. Of course they know who you are. Jake mentions getting a girlfriend since it's that time of the year, and that sticks on Gentaro's mind because as soon as we get outside, we see a girl falling from space. I'm going to say space because I have no idea where the fuck she fell from.
I'm going to say that fits, so let's go with it.
Well, the thing is, as we see later, she tries hopping off very large places to try to get back into space. There's nothing tall around Asagawa High School. There's no tall buildings. I don't know where she fell from. So she just fell from space, I guess. But Gentaro is the one who actually decides to catch this falling girl, as everyone else just stares, which is hilarious. They end up taking her to the infirmary. They try to question her and talk to her. She is mute the entire time, but they do get her name from the wallet she has, which is Misaki Nadeshiko. Have you noticed her uniform by chance?
Not directly, no.
Oh, okay. I was about to say, her uniform is technically foreshadowing. Because guess who has the male version of that uniform? Yep. Yeah, okay. We'll get back to that. She's actually from another school. They name drop it, but I don't remember the school offhand. Don't worry, we'll get to it in next week because it's important next week. We also see that Gentaro is a bit flustered by her because, yeah, he's kind of fallen in love. The poor stupid fool. Dustards charge the room and are ready to attack. Gentaro and Shun quickly fight them off before Nadeshiko makes a run for it. And Gentaro follows, only to see that more Dustards are waiting to attack them outside. So Gentaro, again, untransformed, has to fight them off with Nadeshiko, doing the usual kung fu, use your partner as a weapon and as an assist to fight them off with fight scene.
Which I feel like looks kind of good.
Yeah. Like, Gentaro can handle himself in a fight. Which the show's already demonstrated, but it's nice that, yeah, we acknowledge that Gentaro can, like, hold a fight scene on his own. Granted, this movie reminded me of the end of Fourze, and I had to watch the finale of Fourze today.
Yeah.
Like the final fight scenes in that. And I'm like, God damn it, these final fights are so good. Like, if you don't think Gentaro is a straight up badass, let me show you the end of Fourze. Because I guarantee you will change your mind. Anyway, after Gentaro fights him off and tries to take a show somewhere safe inside the school, ends up running into Sugi, who Gentaro just tells him to run. They find themselves facing a hallway of dust darts, which Gentaro passes the Deshko to the club before he goes to fight him as Fourze. And since he was stronger for the presentation, he actually says Stronger's catchphrase to the T.
Yeah.
And I love
like that
it.
Had to be to the T.
Yep, that is Stronger's catchphrase. He says it a bit more like louder and boisterous, but I do love Gintaro's take on it.
And I love the club just being like, I can't believe he just did that.
But he does correct and say his own and does do the fight scene. But as he does, Nadeshko walks out and pulls out her own Fourze driver, which for reference only has 2 open slots on it. The two arm module slots. The leg slots are actually closed off. And it's blue, and there's no lever. And technically, in the regular version of this, there is no countdown. The countdown only exists in the director's cut.
Well then.
Yep. But she transforms into a rider. Technically, this is Kamen Rider Nadeshko. Yes, she just uses her name. She's like the only one besides like the Hibiki riders who do that. So yeah, everyone is all sorts of shocked, surprised, happy. And Gentaro is just like, holy fuck. I am sure he's just like, God damn it, I like this girl more. So she proceeds to go do a fight scene with all of the dust darts and kicks the ever-loving shit out of them very brutally. Like, she breaks one guy's neck and sends like 2 people through a wall. 2 through 2 separate walls. One of them down the hallway, back towards Gentaro, from the other side, and through a wall.
And I'm sorry, I love the start of the fight scene where Gentro's just completely enthralled by how she's beating the crap out of him.
Yeah, just kicking the shit out of one of them, had to grab one, mimics it, and is just like, oh my god. Also, there's a joke about doing it one man to man, doing it one-on-one, even though it's not one-on-one. I love that Tomoko makes the reference of like, this isn't really one-on-one. And then when Nadeshko repeats it, Gentro's like, one-on-one? This isn't really one-on-one. Anyway, the fight is eventually taken outside. They proceed to kick the crap out of them some more and clean them up, only for the third of our current 4 horoscopes, Virgo, to arrive. This is actually her first appearance. And it's also plot relevant for the Fourze novel. Because this fight scene works into the appearance of Icarus in the novel, but I don't have full context for that, so don't worry about that part. Anyway, Gentaro decides to fight Virgo on his own. Gets his ass kicked a little bit before he uses elect. It manages to even up the odds a little bit. Before he decides to do a rocket finisher with Nadeshko, and the 2 of them do a double rocket punch to send Virgo packing. Now, for reference, because I'm sure you're curious about this, Nadeshiko doesn't do any form changes. Even
I
though,
kind of figured.
yeah, even in her later appearance, she doesn't do it, which is hilarious because it's once more a Sakamoto movie, and as you see, all she has is Rocket. She doesn't even use any of the other switches that could go into either one of her slots. Yeah. Even though she has access to all of Gentaro's form changes, she doesn't use them. But I have seen someone on DeviantArt who did an interpretation of all of them. Anywho, the two of them do a little bit of celebration. Yuki even comes in, does the handshake, which Nadeshiko immediately wants to try to do. And Gentaro can't do it. Because he's feeling some really complicated things right now. And that handshake does not mean what he feels right now.
At all.
No. We do get a nice little side scene with Jake and Miyu commenting on the whole Gentaro and love thing. And Shun's just like, oh, I remember having love at first sight. And Miyu blows him off.
Yeah.
Poor Shun. Poor guy, just constantly just shit on by Miyu because of what he fucking did at the beginning of the series. Anyway, Kingo has the more important question of, where the fuck did you get a Fourze driver from? There's literally only one of those. My dad made it on the moon.
On top of that, a modified Fourze driver.
Yeah, a modified version. Where? How? But before he can get answers, Nadeshiko takes Gentaro and they fucking book it. Kingo can't give chase because he gets one of his quick headache spells, which is the only time that happens to him the entire movie. I love how it's remembered, but it's ignored unless it's relevant.
Yeah.
The two of them make it to a park. Gentaro decides that she's probably hungry, buys them both a thing I forgot the name of, but it looks like some kind of like baked pie thing. It's a very large baked pie thing.
Yeah. I can't remember what it's called either.
Yeah. But after Gentaro takes a bite of his, Nadeshiko just slurps it down in one go. And then he passes her his, and then she slurps it down in one go again. That should have probably been his first sign of, she's not normal. This is not a normal person. Poor guy.
I mean, Gentaro's nothing but naive.
I think he's a bit more thick than he is naive.
That too.
Yeah. Anyway, Nadeshiko wants to go to high places, so Gentaro takes her to a series of high places, like a Ferris wheel and the top of the building, which is where they end up in this little montage of things. Nadeshiko tries to hop off the roof, but Gentaro catches her and pulls her back before he does. We have a cute little scene of them together before Gentaro lets go, because his heart is pounding really fast, and he's like, I don't know what this means. I don't know what love is. This is weird. And I do love how Nadeshiko just is adorable. And it's just like, is this fun? 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 As she hops towards him, and I'm just like, oh, this poor guy. He is fallen into a whole mess of trouble. Anyway, since she wants to go to high places, Gentaro just decides, you know what, I'll take her to the secret base, and we'll go on the moon. That's cool, right? I totally won't get yelled at for this one.
I mean, it'll totally be fine.
Yeah. So they make it to the moon. Nadeshiko tries to hop off the moon. Gentaro once more catches her, pulls her down. They actually get close and try to do a kiss, except their helmets are in the way, because once more, they're on the moon. That's important here in a second. Because realizing this, Nadeshiko proceeds to take her helmet off and is completely unaffected by the atmosphere. Well, lack of atmosphere. Which prompts Gentaro to try to take his helmet off.
And then realize immediately that he can't do that.
I love how the music kicks in after Nadeshiko takes her helmet off, so that the entire time Gentro's trying to take his off, you just hear the comedy music of just like, uh-oh. So once Gentaro realizes, wait a minute, I'm on the moon. I can't take my helmet off. Looks at Nadeshiko with her helmet off and just goes, why are you not dead? And then she reveals that she is the space goo from earlier by turning silver, which freaks the shit out of Gentaro because, yes, Gentaro has fallen in love with a space goo girl thing. We cut away to Gamal, who is at Airport X delivering some Zodiac switches to Kannagi as a part of their deal because, yes, Foundation X funded Gamal's operation and I assume helped fund him building the school. We find out that Kannagi is researching Mutamids, these super evolved life forms that he and his two underlings are. And Gamal, after being like politely threatened because he was supposed to get him the space goo, and he didn't do it. And Gamal's like, "Oh, you're fancy monsters. How would you like to face my fancy monster?" As Leo, the last of the four horoscopes, shows up. Leo is Gamal's personal bodyguard, which is why we won't see him too often. So this is when Kannagi just backs off. So Gamal leaves with Leo in tow. One of the goons tries to power up and tries to be a shit, and Kannagi's like, no, let him go. We can't worry about him until we pull off our plan, and then we'll totally beat the shit out of him. Which outside, Gamal's like, they're not succeeding. They don't know how to play the long game. I know how to play the long game. I'm going to go back to the series and play the long game. Goodbye. That's Gamal done for the movie, by the way. Back at the hut, we found out that, yes, Nadeshiko is the space goo. She is Soul, seeds of life from the universe. She's this massive, replicatable cosmic energy kind of thing. I didn't write down the entire explanation. Essentially, she is space goo that can replicate things in a stronger fashion because she replicates the Burgeroid as a taller double Burgeroid. I don't know if she can... Well, she can perfectly replicate something because they do mention that she replicated her form from the actual Nadeshiko, which, by the way, won't appear later in series. It's like the one thing they don't pick up on in the series from this movie. They also mention that she is not sentient, and she just copies what she sees. Which Gentaro has none of. He's like, no, she's real, she's sentient, right? And then she shows that she's not sentient, which upsets him greatly, and he leaves. We catch up with him on a riverbank as Tomoko and Yuki drop by to check on him. We find out that a man is allowed to cry for various situations. When he has his heart broken, or when he loses his wallet. But Gentaro has no idea if he's supposed to cry if he falls in love with non-sentient space goo. But Yuki and Tomoko manage to like give him a pep talk, bring him back around, tell him like, hey, you fell in love with space goo, but you know what? You like that space goo. I'm sure it will work out. Somehow. And Tomoko mentions that, oh yeah, there was this college lab that apparently had this goo, the space goo, and they wanted it back. So they contacted Kingo. And they're about to deliver it. Which, that doesn't totally sound suspicious.
Yeah.
Anyway, Gintaro runs off to break up this deal without anyone knowing that Foundation X is involved, even though they are clearly wearing their uniforms. Which I love how blatant they are in this scene.
But the new guys won't know about them.
Yep.
They haven't had to deal with much yet.
Nope. But Gintaro arrives in time to steal away the canister that Nadeshiko is in, and gives a nice little speech saying, like, no, she is real. She didn't, like, mimic me all the time. She's real. She's a real space goo girl. And I do actually love her. Which Nadeshiko actually responds to and pops out and reveals, hey, I'm actually am sentient, which part of me wonders if she isn't, like, playing blind or, like, playing dumb for part of this movie.
Probably.
Because, like, sometimes I'm like, no, you are, like, not sentient. You are just mimicking him. But other times I'm like, oh, no, you are real. You're just playing dumb. I guess it just depends on where you think she actually gained sentience at in this movie, whether it was at the scene or early. Anyway, before they can have a nice scene together, one of the goons is just like, well, fuck this. We're done playing nice. And they all proceed to kick the shit out of all of the male club members that are present at the scene. They don't kick the shit out of the female ones. They take Nadeshiko and run in their van, which Gintaro manages to hitch a ride on before they get too far away. So Gintaro is now fighting like 4 Foundation X goons in the back of a van, untransformed. It will not go well for him.
Not at all.
He proceeds to get kicked out of the back of the van, through the van door, that is also busted off its hinges. Thankfully, Kingo arrives with the Masigler to drop it off to Gintaro and be partially the best wingman in this scene. That unfortunately is going to go to Shin later. But Gintaro takes it, transforms, chases after the van. A bit of bike stunts ensue before Shun just puts a stop to this van chase by just like popping the van on its side with missiles from the power dicer, which wouldn't it have been safer to just stop the van?
It would have, but it wouldn't have been using everything in the toy box.
True. But with the van stopped, Nadeshiko hops out. She transforms and has to contend with the Masquerade goons, while Gintaro is off fighting the Dragon Mutamint of the pair. We actually don't see the other one transform into her Mutamint form for some reason, even though she is. But they clean house. They even knock the Dragon one around a bit with a nice little tag team launcher attack into a Nadeshiko rider kick. And they get to celebrate because, hey, the day is saved. And Nadeshiko wants to do the handshake, which Gentaro's like, all right, we start as friends. We'll start here. And they get halfway through before Nadeshiko gets pulled away by Kanaki, who arrives. He catches her and, like, sucks her into a switch, essentially, is the best way I can describe this scene. And according to him, kills her. I am going to put that in quotations for later. Don't worry, she's not dead. But that is what Gintaro believes at the moment, along with the rest of the club. And Gintaro is fucking heartbroken at this, to the point he even charges Kanagi and the 2 goons, untransformed, to just kick the shit out of them. Unfortunately, it doesn't work out for him. So Kanagi decides to leave since he's got his switch now, and leaves the Dragon Mutamit to just clean up the club and actually kill all of these people. He literally says, kill them all. I love how he's just like, oh yeah, we're totally going to kill these high school kids. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine, right? That's covered by the company rulebook. We're allowed to do that.
No, I mean, we cover that later. Never mind.
Yep.
But I mean, yeah, sure.
Anyway, this is where Gentaro is kind of just out of it as the club individually do their best to fight off the dragon. So, Kengo tries to use the Sigler, gets the shit kicked out of him. Shun tries the Powerdizer, gets the shit kicked out of him. All the girls throw the food roids at him. They get blown up. Jake does absolutely nothing, still gets blown up, and passes Gentaro a handkerchief. But after everyone's back on their feet, Gentaro's back in a good spot. So he transforms with the club behind him, and a really cool scene. And he proceeds to go to town on this dragon with fire states, because he's not having any of this shit now. But this is when he stumbles upon the super rocket switch that Nadeshiko created before she was sucked into the switch, which allows him to go into super rocket states, which gives him 2 rocket modules, 1 on each arm, kind of breaking how the form changes work, but, you know, this is the one exception, so we'll take it. So yeah, he uses it to take the dragon to space and just obliterates him with a spinning rider kick. Which, for reference, this is what the Fourze armor in Geo is referencing. And by referencing, I mean replicating. So with the Dragon Mutamint blown up in Super Rocket Switch in hand, Gentaro asks Kengo to look into this group so they can track him down, and Gentaro can just take him out, because the fuck you were going to use the switch of my girlfriend for whatever evil bullshit you're trying. Only Edgy arrives on scene. A little late, Edgy. Just saying. He references O's Wonderful and his encounter with Gentaro before saying, hey, you want to come help? Because I know where they are. Which leads us to Part 5, Movie Tyson Megamax Gather, Warriors of Glory. We check in at a parking garage where Shotaro and Philip are already waiting for Edgy and Gentaro to arrive. We get introductions. Shotaro gets introduced to Gentaro since he hasn't met him yet. Shotaro doesn't think too much of him until Gentaro kind of says Shotaro's line about not letting anyone make the city cry, except Gentaro says, I won't forgive anyone who makes my buds cry. And these 2 dorks get along immediately, and I love it. This perfectly encapsulates both of their characters.
I love the fact that after the initial lines are said between the 2 of them, Philip's like, he's kind of like you. It's one of those, and then all of that happens after. It's like, yep, that was totally spotted.
Yep. It's like Philip is just like, I know you, Shotaro. I know you. You're gonna like him. Don't worry. But the double writers, Shotaro and Philip, end up revealing the backstory or can I go over the backstory of Foundation X if you don't know the story of Double? So if you didn't watch Double, here's your TLDR on Foundation X on who they are. And also, here's Kanagi's motivations, and also the fact of, oh yeah, he's totally going to go in the business for himself, because fuck Foundation X, I'm going to be king of the world.
And this is the point where I started to say earlier, and then I was like, wait, nope. But yeah, killing high school kids, yeah, that's perfectly fine when you're going to betray the foundation you're working for. I mean,
Yeah, when you go into business yourself, fuck the rules. Yeah, the four of them vow to put us into these plans, except that is when a group of 4 Foundation X members, including the other goon, transform into, I believe, the first 4 Zodiarts from Fourze. Yeah, this is the first 4, because it's Orion, the Chameleon, no, it's not the first 4, because the Pegasus one is here, and that's not one of them. Right?
No,
that is one of the first 4. Yeah, it is the first 4. Anywho, they begin to slowly walk towards our riders this entire scene, which is another one of the funny moments of this, is that they just slowly walk towards them, allowing them to just have full scenes with each other. Anyway, Shotaro and Philip decide that they're gonna stop the Zodiarts, giving Edgy and Gentaro the opening to go finish the business, since this is their crossover. We're the guest stars here. You go finish the plot. We'll go be the cameo over here. Also, Shotaro references, I guess, not only movie work horror, but technically A to Z as well in this scene, or either or, depends on your interpretation.
Yeah.
Because he does the hand motion that only appears in A to Z. But he didn't really pay him back in movie war core. So, Anyway, they transform. Edgy and Gentaro transform after them, with Gentaro politely placing Philip behind a pillar because he caught Philip. So with them transformed, Gentaro also has to yell Uchu Kata since he transformed, and does it directly next to Double, spooking Shotaro once more, because that is a trend across their crossovers. And I love how he shakes it off too. It's just like, what the fuck? Space! And he's like, cool, okay. Why are so many people? Why is everyone after me so weird? You got a guy with a floating hand, and now we got a guy yelling about space. I don't want to know what's next.
Yeah, truthfully, he probably doesn't want to know what's next.
Yeah, wait, what do you mean this guy's a magician who has a dragon inside of him? Wait, dragon? Like a real dragon? Like dragon? Wait, what? Next thing you're going to tell me there's some guy who uses fruits.
Although, you do realize that, the comment you were making about the dragon, that the thing to top that off would be for him to use big.
Yes. Oh my god. Anywho, this is when the 3 head out on their bikes, mind you, because, Koichi Sakamoto remembers that these guys have motorcycles and will use them. I guess Double uses his to pull the Zodiarts down to the bottom floor, whereas Edgy and Gentaro use theirs to get to the top floor and then right across a couple helicopters, blowing them up in the process, because that's how physics work.
I mean, sure.
Anyway,
why not?
Anyway, before we catch up on Gentaro and Edgy, we have to do a quick fight scene with Double. So we see him fight off all 4 Zodiarts while swapping from Cyclone Joker to Heat Metal to Lunar Trigger, taking out one of the 4 each time to the tune of WBX.
And yes, that is only 3. We come back to that.
Don't worry, we'll check in later with the last one. That's the unicorn one. I don't know why I said Pegasus earlier. The unicorn one. That's technically the other goon. Anyway, we catch up with Edgy again. They manage to arrive before Kanagi and his entourage board the shuttle. But he proceeds to just shrug off the two of them after explaining his motivation, and it's just like, fuck these younger riders. They're nothing, and leaves a literal army of goons from Double O's and Fourze to fight the two of them.
A literal army.
Yep. So now we get Edgy using all of his full combos to blow up, like mass blow up goons to the tune of Everything Goes, while Gentaro, not using his form changes, instead using all of the other switches he has available to him right now in different combinations to take out his goons to the tune of Switch On, which, by the way, I think the Everything Goes that plays here is a remixed version of it.
It is.
Because I thought it was, because I think the person who sings Switch On is singing here in Everything Goes. Or at least someone different from the normal Everything Goes is singing here for a little special version. And again, these fight scenes are really cool because it's just snappy, just boom, combo, boom, finisher, boom, combo, boom, finisher. Just, it goes, and it's really good. And it's also really creative uses of all of the different switches that Gentaro has access to him. Since, he's just got these weird things stuck in his arms and legs. How do we do a fight scene with it?
And, mentioning about the combos, I got to noticing something too. They did it in order of appearance in the show.
Yep. So he goes from Tatoba to Gatakiri-ba to La Tirata to Sagozo, Tajador to Shishota. With no Puto-Terra, because remember, the Puto-Terra medals got blown up at the end of O's, so Edgy has no Puto-Terra medals. Anywho, we check in with the rocket as we see it begin its launch sequence as Gitro manages to find his way back to the warehouse first and finds a suitcase with the legend gimmicks, the 4 switches and the 3 core medals from before. Checking with Edgy, he stumbles across dummy replicas of the main greeds and the Sonozaki Dopants, with regular Nazca traded out for red Nazca. So, we're in for a rough time. Because those are all, like, pretty big bosses, even if they are replicas.
Although, to this, I'm going to say they're kind of apparently low-level replicas.
Yeah. I would have to assume so. Anyway, they blast Edgy back. Gentaro manages to catch him before he lands. Edgy's ready to fight him, but Gentaro's like, hey, why don't we use these? And opens up the suitcase with him. So they just slam them in the driver. There's some incorrect sound effects with Edgy's, but I'm going to forgive it for the sake of we needed to do this. So they pop a scanning charge and limit break on these and free the Legendary 7.
Because that's how these gimmicks work. Question mark.
I'm just going to assume they're just like, it looks like our gimmicks, we might as well try them and see what happens. Oh, look, it worked. If it didn't, it would give us a power-up. Which, technically, the Fourze ones would give him different modules based on those riders. Those actually all exist in concept in Gamba Rising.
And, technically speaking, wouldn't those one kind of do some kind of weird mashup?
It would, but we don't have official design for those. The Fourze modules are the only ones we have official designs for. Anyway, the Legendary 7 make quick introductions before they inform the two of them that hey, you got to blow him up before he reaches the atmosphere and absorbs a whole bunch of cosmic energy and becomes king of the fucking world. So y'all go do that. We're gonna go take care of these bosses. And so, for reference, it's 8v7. Like I said, it's the 4 main greeds, Playdoll, Claydol, Nazca, Utopia, and I forget the fourth one. 1 second, I need to look at this.
Terror was in there.
Oh yeah, Terror. Yeah, the cat one, Terror. Yeah, derp. I was just like, I can't think of her name. Anywho, so yeah, it's 8v7, so the show writers are a bit short on reinforcements, which leads us to Miharu actually arriving through a black hole from his time period, because I guess he can do that. Don't worry about it. But he arrives, dropping off Edgy some future core medals. They look like Tatoba, but they're not. We'll get there. And he joins the fight with the show riders to even out the enemies for later. I do love how Kentaro tries to do an introduction with Miharu, and Edgy's like, no, Kentaro, we don't have time. Like, we'll do introductions later, okay? I'll introduce you later. Let's go. So Kentaro just does a rider rocket drill kick while dragging Edgy along into the shuttle so they can catch a ride before it launches. They square off against Kanagi in his Galaxy King form, which this is a reference to actually the first 8 show riders in their crossover special against the Galaxy King. We didn't do the 8 riders because we didn't have an extra slot for an 8th rider in the belts, which is why it's only the Legendary 7. Anyway, they are summarily trounced by the Galaxy King because he can fucking clock up because of the future core medals. Welp, that's a problem. After beating him up for a little bit, Gentaro is literally thrown off the shuttle and is falling to the earth, leaving Edgy to fight Kanagi alone. Luckily for Gentaro, the Powerdizer is there to catch him, and they use the Masigler in the launch tower to get Gentaro caught back up, even though he could probably use Super Rocket States to catch up. But we needed to use this. So once Gintaro's in range, he hitches a ride, while Edgy decides to test out his new medals and goes Super Tato Ba. And I have to ask this now, how'd you feel about Super Tato Ba? And I guess Rocket States at this point.
Rocket State's okay. Super Tato Ba, oof.
Yeah, inversing the colors is probably not the smart decision. Also, those claws are too long and they become super floppy, and you can see the plastic holding the claws together.
Yeah, Super Tato Ba is just oof.
Yeah. One of the only downsides of this movie is you get a really bad O's form. Anywho, Super Tato Ba also allows Edgy to clock up so he can match Kanagi's speed. So he proceeds to fight him. Meanwhile, we gotta wrap up all those other fights we started. So we pick up a double, just destroying the last Zodiarch with a charge break in Extreme because, they had a whole fight scene off screen, but we're just doing the finisher now. Because we got 8 more of these to go through. And we also see Aqua eliminate Kazari with another one of his finishers to give him another finisher. And then we get as someone who's not seen the show writer, I don't have as much appreciation for this, but if you have watched the show era series, I know you have far more appreciation for this. because we get a montage of the Legendary 7 Riders all doing their original finishers, except for Rider Man, just using his rope arm to throw his around and make it blow up. Because I guess he doesn't really have a finisher. I don't know. And all of them are recreated in modern times. So both Ichigo and Nigo's belts flash like they would in their series. So does V3's. He does his whole return Haten kick. X does his kick. Amazon does his Daiset stun. And Stronger also does his electric fire kick. And they are all lovingly recreated with modern special effects. And they all just rip apart their individual bosses. Anywho, we're back at the shuttle. Eiji pulls Gentaro up top because we're going to take the fight to the top of the shuttle because that's safe for one of the people here. Gentaro goes Super Rocket States, and they proceed to fight off Kanagi. Gentaro manages to use a finisher to blow up Kanagi's weapon that can operate on its own, and they just trounce him enough to the point he's pushed back and decides to blow them away with cosmic energy, which Gentaro blocks with his 2 rockets because, he's better equipped to block something than Eiji is in his form. This is when Nadeshiko actually pops up in kind of a spirit form to tell Gentaro's like, "Hi, I'm still here." And Gentaro's like, "Wait, you're alive?" And she's like, "Not really. Anyway, that's not the important part right now. You need to take this, and you need to hold it." So Gentaro does in fact take the cosmic energy, and he holds it, and manages to pretty much absorb it and dissipate the cosmic energy charge, kind of ruining Kanagi's plans. So, with that out of the way, they proceed to blow him up with a double rider kick, sending him careening forward, careening past the shuttle, so the shuttle runs his ass over and proceeds to start blowing up. Now, for reference, from here to the early bird cameo, all of this took place during the credits of the original cut of this movie, meaning it was on the side of the screen in a smaller box. All of this. All of it. So, in the shuttle, Gentaro says his goodbyes to Nadeshiko because she is taking off to parts unknown to reconstruct her body, since she's more or less a wandering cosmic energy spirit thing. Don't worry about it. She's still alive, though. And she will return when we're done. The last thing we're covering for Fourze is when she returns. But they do get to share a handshake and a kiss before she takes off, and Gentaro and Eiji make their way back to Earth. Eiji using Tajador, and Gentaro using the last switch he hasn't used this movie that he has access to, and it's Parachute. Meaning, yes, folks, if you kept count, Gentaro used every single switch he has access to this point in the series. Sakamoto did not forget. Shotaro and Philip congratulate the pair from the ground as they see the Exodus exploded in the air. Eiji and Gentaro do get to catch up with the Showa riders, and Eiji gets to do the handshake. I am sad that Double is not here for this scene, because Aqua is also present for this scene, so we have almost every single rider that appeared in this movie, except for Double and Nadeshiko. Which makes me a little sad. But wrap up, the Kosuke Hina, Goto, Date, and Chiyoko are cleaning up, with Chiyoko planning to open the next day because I run a business here. I'm not going to let a bunch of monsters destroying the place stop me. We'll just wing it. Hina and Edgy both look forward to seeing Ankh in the future and vow to continue trying to find a way to restore him, as Edgy is back off to whatever place he was at the start of this movie, continuing his research. Gentro, I think actually at the airport, because I assume he saw off like Edgy at the airport, I assume.
Oh, I would think.
Yeah. Actually passes by the real Nadeshiko, which makes him remember the space goo Nadeshiko he knew. This is actually the only appearance of the real Nadeshiko. She doesn't reappear in the series, like I said. Even though we will come back to the school that she's from for a very important reason. So he's a bit sad about this, but the club does give him the tap the chest, fist bump to get him back on his feet. So he's a bit happier, and they're off to go continue their story. The credits roll at this point. For the director's cut, they're the proper credits, and they actually have all behind-the-scenes photos. So you also get to see what the powderizer setup is for when they filmed the inside of the powderizer. It's hilarious because it's just this cardboard cutout with a couple of lights shining on the actor. But after the credits, we have one final scene because we're maximizing that in runtime. We see a bunch of Foundation X goons are stopped by a mysterious rider. And if you tuned in last week, you know who this is. This is Meteor. He actually stops them and proceeds to beat them up when they go masquerade and just slices them up with the Saturn Rings power.
Yeah, Kamen Rider Bruce Lee.
Yep. After this, we see him de-transform into his human form, Ryusei. And he mentions that, he comments on the whole Kanagi situation. And it's a bit boring. But if he wants to find the person he's looking for, he's going to have to head to Amanagawa High School. And we end the movie there. So that is movie Tyson Megamax. Ooh. A lot happened in this fucking movie.
Yes.
A lot. So, how do you feel?
I definitely liked it. I wish we could have more crossover movies like that.
Yeah.
And I did realize that, the CGI stuff, oh my god, you can tell it's CGI.
Yeah.
It is super CGI.
Yeah. They never put that much budget into the CGI fight scenes at the end of these crossovers.
And you know what's bad? With 01, you can tell where the CGI stuff is, but it actually doesn't look as blatantly obvious as this is.
Yep.
So now that's also making me wonder what could that fight scene had looked like if it was done, say, now.
Yeah. Especially since they were trying to hide how shoddy the CGI looked by intercutting with live action sequences.
But I almost feel like that just made it stand out worse.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a reason I say this is the best crossover movie, and it's because it hits every mark I think you could want out of a crossover movie. Not only does it give you a satisfying conclusion to Oza's story, it gives you this really sweet, interlude story for Fourze. It gives you, a nice little check-in with Double. It gives you a check-in with the Legendary Seven. It gives you three brand new riders. One Dark Rider, two proper riders. All of them are brand new suits, no reused parts on any of them. Like, think about that for a second. All 3 of these brand new suits. That's not that that's pretty uncommon these days.
Yeah.
And none of the parts on these riders will ever be reused. Really good story from start to finish, because everything about the story is all connected together. Like, everything has a role in the bigger story. You get a fun crossover. You get really good character interactions, like, really throughout the movie.
You know what? I gotta argue with you on something.
What?
Aqua gets reused.
I'm trying to remember where.
Geo.
Oh, yeah. Well, okay. Reused in the sense of repurposed into something different. Not reused as in ramshackled into a show, but not given proper justice.
I mean, that's the only one that I think has any additional purpose.
Yeah. Yeah, like, all the new riders are pretty memorable in their own way, to where Nadeshiko had a figure work come out at the time of Megamax's release. Not Aqua, not Poseidon, Nadeshiko. Although Aqua and Poseidon still don't have figures. The only thing they have is Poseidon has a statue in SIC. Still to this day. Aqua doesn't even have a Soto, even though they had the excuse in Geo of making a Soto Aqua. They still haven't done it. Although, we do have O's Chronicle at the moment, so I am fully expecting here's an Aqua Poseidon set with, like, Super Tatoba. I'll accept 2/3 of those. I'll quietly accept Super Tatoba if it means I get Aqua in Poseidon.
I mean, if we're talking about a not as big of an eyesore Super Tatoba, then maybe.
Yeah. But yeah, like, this movie just hits it all, and the insane thing is, this movie has about 13 writers, I think, altogether. And that's not 13 writers that appear in this movie, on top of the full supporting cast for both O's and Fourze. And yet, everyone feels like they got screen time and got a purpose. Like, everything about this movie works. And it's really good. There's only one downside of it for me, and it's a downside that is shared by A to Z. To get the most out of this movie, you have to come in with prior knowledge. You have to know Oz's story to come into Megamax to actually appreciate Oz's epilogue here. And it sucks.
But
ugh.
I don't have a problem with that, for the simple fact of that's how all of the rider crossovers kind of feel.
Yeah.
It's one of those that you need to know the previous show. It would do you some good to know the current show, but you really need to know the previous show. At least an overview of its entirety.
Yeah.
Because
especially
I feel like this one's probably the exception, because of the fact of you really need to watch all of those to be able to fully appreciate it. Because there is so many callbacks to early stuff.
Yeah.
But for the most part, a lot of these, it's, do you know the general idea of the previous show? If so, then you're good.
Yeah.
So
Like,
I can't really fault it for that. And I really kind of can't fault A to Z either because of the way that it's so closely tied into the story.
yeah.
It's more or less a episode as opposed to a movie.
Yeah. I only count those as negatives because I'm like, this is peak. This is what good writer looks like. This is what the franchise at its best, firing on all cylinders, looks like. But I can't really show that to a new person. I can't just go, hey, new person to the franchise, here's Megamax. Watch this movie and you will understand what is really good about Ryder. No, that's a terrible idea. I can't show them A to Z as well because it's like, hey, let me drop you 30 plus episodes into a series with this movie.
The bad thing too is, you know, I think watching double through Fourze is fine. I can say from experience, do not try to watch Kamen and then go to O's.
Yeah.
Because when Kamen starts picking up, that's when you can see that stark difference just between the shows. And it's not that one is better than the other necessarily, it's just the writing style is so drastically different that it's like, ooh.
Yeah. But yeah, that's the only fault I can give, and it's just because I love these movies so much. I would love to introduce people to the franchise with these movies, but I can't because they're so deeply enriched by continuity that it's like,
Like, I think it gets back to what we've even said before. If you're wanting a good show that you can watch in its entirety with all the extra movie contents, start with Double and work your way forward.
Yeah. Because, like, it honestly feels like unintentionally, like, going from Double to this movie feels like we're building to this movie. Because, like, Foundation X isn't done after this movie. Hell, Foundation X is never actually fully defeated, even after the Heisei Generations movie. Foundation X is still out there somewhere. But, like, it feels like, hey, this is a culmination of everything I've been watching because it plays on all three of these shows, and it's also a throwback to the past and a look to the future, all in one movie. So yeah, Megamax is really fucking good.
It's almost like, you know, this kind of did in a very smaller scale what Geo should have done.
Pretty
because
much.
We did have that look to the past and look to the future kind of concept. Like, why couldn't we have took the way it was done and kind of break it down into a smaller scale? Like, seeing stuff like this even makes me even more angry at the way the Geo wound up.
Yeah, because now you see how much Aqua got jobbed out in Geo. When here, he looks like a fucking star. He looks like he could run his own series.
Well, and gets the proper, truthfully building blocks for if they did decide to do him a series down the road.
Yeah.
Like, in all seriousness, this movie could even work as a crossover at that point.
Yeah. It's a weird thought, mind you, but it's a movie like this that makes me go, I wish that instead of Geo trying to do a 20th anniversary series, I wish it just did a 10th anniversary series from Double onward. And went, yeah, Kuga through Decade exist, but we will take care of them in one go in a movie and like a solo movie. But like, we want to focus on Double onward. Because that's where the interconnected, rich continuity is. That is where you have literally 9 movies worth of crossovers to build on.
Or here's a thought, why not burn through the first 10 early?
That too.
And then kind of, I don't know, we've got Foundation X that was introduced in the second half. Why not, as we're working through the second half, they start playing a bigger part in the story?
Yeah.
Kind of force something that's already there to kind of start showing its head.
Yeah. Because, like, how all the superhero Titans films keep bringing back Shocker over and over and over and over and over again as this big bad for the entire franchise, even though that's not how they worked. They were only existent for the Showa era. And even then, it was only really for the original series in name. Because that's not exactly how Shocker worked. When you literally, through Fourze, have the ready-made, here is an organization that can literally be dropped into any series by just mere mention alone, and boom, you have your crossover material ready. It's not like you need anyone to come back for Foundation X.
I mean, truthfully, didn't we kind of get to thinking about it, and I think Ghost is the only one that it would be a little more tricky to try to play them into, but it's still doable.
Yeah. Everyone else either has confirmed connections to Foundation X through some sort of crossover material, or you can easily write them in
without changing anything.
Yep. It is so easy because of Foundation X's concept to just apply them to any series. Literally, if 01 was in the same world as the Heisei era series, you could literally still write in Foundation X as being a part of that one too.
Yeah. And make absolutely no changes to the story.
Yeah. It just gives you crossover potential.
Like, Ghost would be the hardest to mine that line, but I believe we did find a way that it could still be potentially done.
Yeah.
So, it's like, come on. I feel like that was just huge oversight.
Yeah. I believe it's because
they couldn't get the white suits. One of the two.
I believe the reason it happened is that there was an executive producer change after Fourze, which made them he was like, no, we're dropping Foundation X. Like that, bleh, that's a bad concept. And meh.
He probably said it was too much like how they were doing Shocker.
Yeah, even though you could just use Foundation X as a modern day Shocker, which is, when we get to Ghost next season, guess what they tried to do with Shocker? That I never realized until someone pointed it out, and it kind of makes me really not want to watch a movie now that we're going to have to watch.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which one?
It's the Kamen Rider Ichigo movie.
Oh.
Yeah. They tried to make Shocker more like Foundation X, and it's blatantly obvious. I never made the connection until someone pointed it out, and I'm like, oh, fuck, you're right. Wow. Literally, wow. Anywho, any other thoughts on the movie?
No.
All right, then. Next week, we'll be picking back up on the series itself, being properly introduced to Ryusei and his status as a meteor, along with continuing the... I'm not sure what to call this arc, but I will probably have a name for it once it's over. of Kamen Fourze. So until then, if you like what you're seeing, drop us a follow. We really appreciate it. If you want to know when we are live, there's the Twitter at TG Saloon. It will let you know when we go live.
Also, if you want to see what we're planning for the week, subject to change, but it will change in real time. tgsnetwork.org/schedule will list what we've got and when we're starting.
Yep. We also have the Discord, ! Discord and chat gets you the link. We have a question box that you can drop your question in, and we will answer them at the relevant podcasts. Whether it is here or on TGS, which we just did last night. We have plenty to look forward to this next week. Kamen Traveler Senki wrapping up, Fire Emblem Three Houses continuing, and whatever fun multiplayer stuff we're going to be doing this weekend on Friday and Saturday before we get back around to Fourze.
Because I got to decide. Chances are one of those is going to be Fortnite, but I can't swear to that.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll see.
Yep. Anywho, that will do it tonight for Tommy. I'm Peace. Good night, everybody. We will see you later.